Hey everybody, this is Chewy Plays Nintendo, and today we're going to be analyzing the Animal Crossing New Horizons trailer. So, Animal Crossing New Horizons is changing things for the Animal Crossing franchise. Last week, we finally got our first look at the game, and boy, what a look it was. Between the trailer, the Nintendo Treehouse segment, and tons of interviews with Ayako Goku and Hisashi Nogami, there is so much to digest for this game. So let's get started with the trailer. The first thing we're hit with is voice acting. We have never had voice acting in an Animal Crossing game before, at least not voices speaking anything other than Animalese or BBs. What we know about this voice is that it's coming from the airplane speakers and that we are landing on a deserted island. The first thing I want to point out is that this may be the first special character we meet in the game that is also human. All other human characters have been playable characters in the past, so we haven't seen any human existence that isn't playable. The Treehouse segment also avoided showing us the airport, and my suspicion is that it was out of fear of showing us the first human special character. Of course, this may just be speculation because many of us expect Porter to be flying us to our island and taking on the role of pilot. This choice could also have been used to throw us off and not expect Animal Crossing until the next line. So let's talk about the next line. The Nook Inc. Getaway Package Charter Flight. We are introduced to Nook's new role and what he has been working so hard to complete. He has now started a huge corporation based around settling us all up with our own private island getaway. He's really grown his real estate business to give us a much bigger package than ever before. We have seen from interviews that Nook will play a major role in how your island progresses throughout your playthrough. While you have the option to stay in the tent forever, it seems that Nook will present us new options as the needs arise. Finally, we'll get to the actual visuals of the trailer. We open up to a beach scene, and there are already many things to make note of. For one, we have the return of some familiar features. Of course, we have the palm trees, coconuts, and a shell. This shot has a huge visual update, and that is shadows. We can see the palm trees casting a shadow, as well as our own character. These shadows also seem to match the movement of the object. On top of the shadows, we also have a great visual update, which is wind. We can see the palm trees gently swaying in the cool breeze. We also get a glimpse at what could be a new butterfly. And great news, the butterfly also has a shadow. I'm suspicious that this may be a new design for the common butterfly due to the white and black coloring, but the patterns are of course new to the series. The next visual is also a new design for the weeds on the bottom right corner. Not only do we have a new design, but the weeds also seem to show some growth over time. We've never really had stages to the flower growth, so this is a great new feature to the game. The biggest thing in this opening shot is something that longtime fans of the series have wanted to return forever. On the right of the screen, we can see a cliffside showing us the return of tiered towns. However, in this shot, it is easy to think that maybe we're going with that new leaf-style cliff that separates the beach from the rest of the town. Not only that, as we keep walking in the opening scene, we can observe there is a second cliff on top of the first. This may point out that there will be multiple tiers to the towns. In this shot of the map, you can see how the elevation is shown. The green portion of the town represents the land that is not part of the beach. You can see the green color gets lighter as the elevation rises, kind of like topographic maps in real life. You can see a total of 4 different shades of green, implying that we'll be able to see up to 4 levels of our town. However, we did not see any gameplay of the upper portion of town, so there's no telling if we'll get more than 2 tiers that are actually playable. In the final portion of the opening sequence, we see our character looking off in the distance and showing us a new rocky terrain that has never existed before. For the first time, our beach has some stones that we'll be able to walk upon. Before we move on to the next scene, I do want to point out the new Hawaiian-style shirt the character is wearing, along with some light khaki shorts and some sandals that appear to be black on the bottom and have green thongs similar to the green sandals that existed in New Leaf. In the next scene, we see our character has fully set up their tent, and they're feeling like the island is getting less deserted already. In this shot, we get our first look at our humble beginnings: the bright yellow tent, a small wooden mailbox, a better visual of the weeds, apple trees in the background, and a brand new item we'd never seen before. To the right of the tent, under the tree, there's a tree branch on the ground. Of course, we find out that this is one of many types of crafting materials we'll be able to find in this world. In fact, the tree house has confirmed that weeds and much more of the world's collectibles can be used in crafting recipes. On the ground, we can see the triangle patterns making a return, but definitely more scattered and less integrated to the floor. Our main character is also wearing a cute plaid shirt along with some nice tan pants and yellow slip-ons. Her hair also shows the new lighting that this engine is using. The character also casts a shadow over the tent, displaying a much more complex shadow system than the previous circles underneath our characters in previous games. The next scene shows off the material gathering I mentioned a bit earlier. Shaking the tree, you can see some of the branches fall from the tree. We also get a better look at the river in this shot, and even a stone we are familiar with from previous games. Off in the distance, we get our first look at pine trees. If you know me, you know I'm excited to plant pine trees everywhere around my town and really go for a mountain forest type of look. The next scene, we end up in Nook's new shop, and there is a lot to break down. First thing we can clearly see is the crafting table available for our use. The table is full of many different tools that could be used to make a number of items. Of course, I get the impression that all of the little details aren't separate items but part of the table as a whole. But I would love to see some of these things as separate items. Before we go any further, however, this is the first look we're getting at Tom Nook since his days in the office. He's got a cute Hawaiian shirt with a leaf pattern and some khaki shorts. Timmy or Tommy is also standing there with a matching shirt. Both of them are looking very cute. On the right side, we can see some cables running through the tent. I'm assuming these are power cables that are probably powering the ABD or automatic bell dispenser. One thing I do really like is that we have the return of hanging items. We can see a green coat just at the edge of the screen, a calendar above the craft table, and what looks like a set of switches for the lighting around the building. I also love the update to the interior. We can tell that we are inside a tent, and we can see the structure of the tent on the right side of the wall. There's also a blue tarp on the floor, but the flooring below looks like it might be wood. When I analyze the treehouse, we'll revisit this room a little bit more thoroughly. As the character crafts the item, we can see puffs of smoke and some of the branches we saw collected outside pop up. This is a good time to point out that the speech bubbles in this game are different. They've got a new borderless look and feel that is just very clean to me. We also have a new item revealed to us, the flimsy axe. It appears in a really cute toolbox rather than us seeing the axe itself. After the axe is complete, we head back out where our character is shown using the axe on the tree. We see some wood come off of the tree as it is used. We see two different colors of wood. In the treehouse, we'll learn that the dark wood is called hardwood and the lighter wood is called softwood. We also learn that you'll be able to get 3 pieces of wood as crafting materials. We're not yet sure if we'll only be able to collect these crafting materials from a tree once a day. A bit earlier, I mentioned we can see weeds actually grow in this game. This shot shows us all the different stages of weeds. Here's the biggest stage of weeds. You can see it incorporates a lot of the different features from the previous stages. The smallest weed looks like it's these 2 little leaves. That in turn adopts the other 2 weed styles and eventually gets big enough to have flowers. I believe that these 3 weeds might be the smallest form, with the other larger weeds slowly adding more of their base forms together. The next shot we get a number of different stones from using the axe on a larger stone. During the treehouse, we'll be able to get a closer look at the names of these. We also get a much better shot of the river. One thing I appreciate is the reflection of the river wall in the water. It appears we're going to have a visual update to the water. Of course, right now it looks pretty simple, but we can already see some nice rippling on the right side. In the background, we finally get a better look at the cliff in the town. Behind the river and behind the trees, we can see the cliff to the back. When we get a look at the treehouse footage, we do get to see that the map includes cliffs. Unfortunately, we don't get many looks of the cliff, but we can see some of the cedar trees up to the north. The next shot offers a huge reveal for the game. We see our character by a campfire, a beach towel, a coconut drink, some shoes, and a radio. The character then releases a leaf and places a nice wooden stump to sit on in the beach. This shows us that we'll be able to have much greater control over the items we can place around our town. This scene is also the only time we get to see the camera angle change in the entirety of the footage we get from E3. When the player sits on the stump, the camera angle changes and we get a much better look at the sky. We can finally take in the clouds and the new lighting in the sky. On top of that, we can see our characters barefoot, showing that we can once again control what we wear on our feet, just like in New Leaf. The right of the sky shows the sun setting, and the color of the sky looks brighter on the right, but darker on the left. I'm sure the sunset is going to be beautiful in this game. We also get another look at the shell and a dragonfly over the ocean water. The next scene is big. We get a huge time-lapse that really captures our life on the island. Our character has donned yet another new outfit, a short-sleeved blue button-up, those same khaki shorts, and some new green shoes. Taking the scene in slowly, we see the character start by removing all the weeds and then placing several items around their campsite. The ones I find most interesting are the oil barrel over the fire and a log bench with a cup on it. These both seem like fresh new items we hadn't had before. I also want to point out that rock in the bottom right corner. Later on, I'll focus on something specific that happens with that rock later in the trailer. Finally, we see our character planting some flowers for the first time. This is very distinct because in previous Animal Crossing games, we saw flowers fully bloom as soon as they were planted. Instead, flowers now grow just like the weeds. They also plant a sapling and give us our first look at what I assume to be the flimsy watering can. I think it has a cute brown wooden look compared to the tin watering can in previous games. The character then places two new items, a clothing line, and a campfire with a pot boiling over it. As the character walks across, we see the Agrias butterfly has returned to the game. They then pull out a fishing rod, which also seems to resemble the flimsy wooden items we've seen in the trailer thus far. The fishing rod has a cute little leaf on it, and we can see the shadow of a fish lurking in the water. The next portion of the time-lapse gives us a look at the flimsy net design. I think it's really cute that the net is a triangle shape instead of a circle we're used to in older games. From here, the scene changes to a rainy day, which is quite amazing to look at. The lighting is a lot darker, and we have a sort of foggy effect going on. Our character also walks in with a nice leaf umbrella that has some great lighting on it due to the rain. It looks like the umbrella is actually wet. I also love seeing how the water drips in the river, the bucket, and the oil barrel. We can also tell there is a light on inside of the tent as it begins to glow. After the rain subsides, the time-lapse continues and shows us the cloud shadows pass over the world beautifully. In fact, you can really see how much they've done with the lighting in this portion. The tent is brighter on the left where the sun seems to be hitting it, and the light on the inside of the barrel on the right of the tent definitely shifts throughout the scene. When the night comes, we see cute fireflies floating around the world and a sweet glow emitting from the tent. The next scene features a brand new tool and gives us a much better look at the cliffs to the north of the town and our first look at the waterfall. So first, the new tool is the pole vault, and it's going to help us get around our island as it is without bridges in the beginning. The cliffs actually seem to be much shorter than I expected. I feel like our character's head would nearly reach the top of the cliff if it was standing right next to it. The waterfall also has that short look to it. As the character hops over the river, we can see a cicada in the tree, indicating that this entire scene may have been occurring in the summer. Funny enough, the next shot jumps to autumn, and we get to see a lot of changes to the world. Not only do the trees change colors, but the weeds have a much different look to them. They look a bit more like wheat with their yellow coloring. Another funny moment is that this is also the first time in the entire trailer that we see an animal that isn't of the Nook variety. This shot features Olivia doing some very interesting things. Not only is she sitting on the ground under a tree, but she is also wearing a new outfit with sleeves. Next to her are one of my personal favorite items, mushrooms. We can see two different types of mushrooms in this shot. The one next to Olivia looks like the flat mushrooms, and the one next to the tree to the right of the character looks like the elegant mushrooms. We also see an apple on the floor, and I'm starting to wonder if the fruit can fall on its own if it becomes too ripe. We saw a coconut on the floor in the beginning of the trailer. It might not mean that fruit will fall on its own, but it could just be left there for decoration. The most interesting thing here is that the character uses a shovel to completely remove the tree from the ground. I have many questions about this. Can we transplant those trees somewhere else? Is it used as a crafting material? Can we place it closer to walls than we could in previous Animal Crossing games? I've just gotta know this stuff. One little detail I'm going absolutely crazy about in this autumn scene is that we can see leaves fly through the wind. We see a few of those red leaves falling toward the floor. I wonder if they'll be able to pile up and create nice leaf piles for us to run through. It's a small dream of mine to see leaves fly into the air as I walk around on a brisk autumn day. Also, those red dragonflies in the background are quite cute. The next shot takes us into the winter, and we can finally see the cedar trees in a much better light. If you all have watched me play, you know that I love trees, especially the pine trees. I've gotta say, these look gorgeous with the snow on them. I was also worried early in the trailer if cedar trees could grow south of the cliff. Seeing that these are south of the cliff, we can rest assured that the cedars will appear. However, I hope they can grow on the southern half of the map. New Leaf did not allow cedar trees to grow in the southern portion of the map, and this trailer hasn't shown that this far. We're also introduced to a couple more sleeve-wearing characters, Eunice the sheep and Freya the wolf. Eunice wearing a sweater also shows us that the sheep won't only wear scarves. Also, I've gotta say, it's very nice to know that your animal friends won't be too cold this winter. This cabin is also the first building we see in this trailer that isn't a tent. I'm loving the log cabin look. This also reveals that we can now decorate our doors with wreaths. I'm wondering, however, if the sign to the left of the door and the light above the door comes built in with the design, or if it's something we can make later on. This scene also shows that we can cut down trees and leave stumps around our town, as well as build snow people. I wonder what kind of gifts and games our snow people will provide us with in this game. The weeds also have a much more reserved look, and it appears as they cannot fully grow in the winter. The next shot takes us inside of Fuchsia's home. I love how their names are placed inside of the dialogue box. The slight angle and cute color and font is really fun. All of the items in her home also seem to have a well-needed updated look. It appears as though she has her own crafting table on the left. It has heart-shaped knobs that match the heart-shaped knobs of the closet in the corner and the heart-shaped light switch on the lamp. Her radio also has heart-shaped speakers. I'm loving the small look at the plaid bedspread we can barely see just below the speech bubble. I also adore this new flooring in her home, and her new wallpaper matches the room great. The plant also has a nice shine to it with the lighting. One big thing I want to point out in this room is the shutters on the window. Happy Home Designer allowed us to change the shutters in the windows. I really hope we'll be able to change them up in this game as well. One thing I am worried about with the interiors is if we're going to get ceiling items again. It doesn't appear like Fuchsia has any ceiling items in her room. She does, however, have what might be a chalkboard in the top right corner of the room. The next shot is full of many more big reveals. We are back at the front of our original tent, but it has now turned into a house that greatly resembles the original house on the box art of Population Growing. The house even includes a mailbox for our islanders to receive mail. Our character has rearranged their furniture, but you can see they still have the flowers arranged around the tree and that oil barrel next to the house. They have since added a hammock, a table with a chair, their own crafting table, a new bench, and a cup and a swing in the back right. Wait a minute, wasn't there a rock there before? That's right, the rock that was in that back corner has been completely removed and swapped out with a wooden swinging bench. Hamlet is also watering some flower buds, and we can see that the flowers aren't fully bloomed in this shot. Outside of that, I really want to point out the adorable sign pointing toward the home and the bushes right next to the home. I need to know if the character planted these bushes or if they come attached with the design of the home. I'm really hoping we can plant bushes directly next to buildings in this game. Finally, we have to focus on the brand new path making item. We can see the character create more paths leading to their home. I'm really wondering if we'll be able to make different types of paths outside of the dirt paths as well. I mean, I definitely don't mind making dirt paths, but I would be amazed to have options for different types of stone and wood pathing around my town. The next scene takes us to a spring day that is full of cherry blossom trees. We can see our character has once again updated some of their furniture. They added a wreath on the door and allowed Goldie to enjoy a nice swing on that swinging bench. In this scene, the flowers are fully bloomed, and when the character goes to pick them, they only pick the petals and leave the flowers to bloom once again. This really makes me wonder how the flowers are going to be treated in this next game. How are we going to move them? Can we pick them fully, or are we only going to be able to get the flower blooms? The climactic portion of this trailer gives us a look at a home that has been fully upgraded with a yard and plenty of amenities. Now, this scene is really showing what we're going to be capable of making. We already know that we can place virtually any item outside, but the biggest thing shown off in this scene is the fencing we're capable of making. From the white picket fence to the more log-based fencing, I'm excited to see what we can do to make yards for each of the homes on our island. The final thing I'd like to focus on before the trailer reaches its final scene with Tom Nook is the different characters, their designs, and all the things they can wear. Our main character is wearing a sundress, a flower crown, some pink sandals, and a cute little purse. The next two characters we see have different hats on. The female villager also has a darker skin tone and a different dress along with white sandals. The male character is sporting some jeans, a baseball shirt, and sneakers. On the bottom left, we see a new character appear with pigtails and a backpack. I'm really hoping that the purse and backpack items are more than just aesthetic and will allow us to carry even more in our inventory. As we continue, we see two characters pop up that are callbacks to the original Wild World designs. We also see another character with a dark skin tone and a t-shirt and shorts. Finally, the last character has a more business casual look along with a phone we'll learn is called the Nook phone. The 8 characters line up at the end of the trailer near the ocean to give us a good view of the ocean and beyond. One thing I find very interesting in this portion is the islands in the background. Are those islands aesthetic, or will they actually be islands we can travel to later in the game? I wonder if they will play a bigger role or just be a feature off in the distance that adds more life to the visuals of the game. As the title appears on the screen, we can see the waves hitting up against the rocks on the beach. We can also see the ocean is a bit darker in the bottom right corner of this shot. We got a scene featuring many tools we'll have in the game, but we did not see if we'll be able to swim again. I assume we will, because I don't see the point of being on an island without doing some swimming. At the very end of this scene, the business casual character pulls out his Nook phone once again. I do want to point out that his outfit has suspenders, and I wonder if this will be an item we can add on top of all our clothing. The suspenders don't look like they belong to the shirt design because they do connect to the pants on the character. Finally, the trailer ends with Tom Nook handing us our bill for everything we purchased to get away. The top right corner shows our first look at a menu item. It features a bell bag with the number 0, indicating that we'll be starting on this island flat broke. I also want to point out how generous Nook is with these ventures, considering we probably didn't make a down payment on anything for our private island. He really does put a lot of trust into our ability to eventually pay him back for all of the work he does. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed some of these things I pointed out throughout the trailer. If I missed anything, or if you have anything else you wanted to point out, please let me know in the comments. I am so excited to see much more of this game, and I'll have some follow-up videos discussing the different news we've gotten for this game, as well as an analysis on the Treehouse segment covering this game. So please, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye!